Jesse Martinez is here from Matsui, a Japanese company that makes water-based ink, not just your normal water-based ink, but if you ever want to do some crazy special effects, these are the guys, right? They make some really, really cool products. We like to play around with them and then make really cool prints and then figure out how to sell them and then don't sell them. But it's a fun idea, right? And if you don't know Jesse, you're missing out. I feel like everybody in this industry knows Jesse or should know Jesse. Very, very helpful person. Send him a Facebook message at 1 a.m. saying, hey man, I can't figure out how to screen print, and he will answer every time. Really, really great guy. So thank you so much for speaking to us, Jesse. I'm really excited to learn what you have to say. So come on, all the way from Phoenix, Arizona. Here's Jesse.
All right, it's been a good morning. Very happy to be here. Feel very fortunate to be here. And it's also great to see all these familiar faces and also Facebook faces. Some of you I don't get to see until you're on Facebook asking questions, and it's nice to see all of you here in person as well. Tomorrow is going to be the fun day, so I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. Today, I'm probably going to overlap a little bit over kind of what Tony went over and reinforce what Tony talked about earlier. Maybe go a little bit more into detail about the different types of ink systems that are out there. My background started in emulsion and mesh with Murakami. Been in the industry a little over 20 years. I've been with Matsui now going on 6 years. And I chose Matsui because I knew water-based was coming. It was a future. You know, I did a little bit of direct-to-garment, and that's water-based. So, what's next for me? So future-wise, I chose to go the water-based route and hopefully share my knowledge that I'm learning here at Matsui with all of you to be successful, because at the end of the day, it's really, we're all successful together. So if you're successful, all of us here that are speaking to all of you today are going to be successful as well. So, I'm going to go ahead and jump in here because I know a lot of you guys are getting ready for lunch. Cool. So again, all of us are here to educate, build confidence and create excitement about this. We're not here to tell you switch to water-based. It's something that you should add to your business if you don't have it already. Okay. And then from there, you end up maybe liking it, or your customers end up liking it, and you end up going with it, okay? So some of the ink water-based types, as you heard earlier from Tony, water-based discharge, we'll be going over that. Traditional water-based, which is the one that everybody dreads. Water-based acrylics, water-based high solid acrylics, water-based polyurethanes, water-based hybrid systems, and then water-based special effects. Okay, just touch a little bit on special effects. So with water-based discharge systems, even though they've been around for a very long time, because there's such a high demand, especially in the US, these formulations are starting to get better and better, okay? One of the technical aspects of all these different systems that you're gonna keep hearing me talk about is resin content, okay? Resin content is the binder or the glue that helps hold the pigment so that you get better wash fastness. Okay, but it also helps improve or worsen your hand feel. Okay, so hopefully, after this talk today, you'll be able to kind of differentiate one from the other and the reasons why one could be better than the other in situations for your different type of customers' demands. Like Tony said, used to remove color dye from the fabrics, recommended for 100% cotton. We are pushing the envelope here with discharge. We are printing more 60-40 blends, some 50-50s, only because, again, we're trying to get that soft hand feel. And discharge is very good for that soft hand feel. PVC-free. Everybody's been hearing about PVC-free solutions. Okay, water-based has always been a PVC-free solution. Okay, so if a customer is requesting or requiring a PVC-free solution, water-based is a good solution for that. Okay, and one thing I wanted to start off with as well, When somebody talks about water base, the first thing that comes to mind is discharge, okay? So I've been to a lot of shops and say, we print water base. And I say, okay, what water base are you printing? And it's discharge most of the time. So today, you're gonna find out there's a lot more solutions than just only discharge. And there's a good reason behind all that. Discharge is being used as an alternative or another option to soften the hand for underbasing plastisol. We talked about that with Tony earlier. And again, to improve the soft hand. Pros, soft hand, improved printability, PVC free, easy to incorporate foil application. So whenever you're doing special effects, like foil, this discharge will help you be able to integrate foil into a multicolor job. So the foil will not stick to discharge. So I threw that in there, just because I do get a lot of phone calls. How can I print a multicolor foil job without the foil sticking to the ink? So discharge is a good solution for that. Once again, if you're printing on 100% cotton. Brighter colors, we're getting brighter colors out of discharge bases now. So this is where that new improved formulations is coming from. Price, okay? We see the price of discharge and we get excited. They're like, oh, that's a great price. I want to print discharge all day long. I'm gonna make a lot of money. That's another reason why a lot of people choose discharge over some of the other options out there. And easy cleanup. We talked about using water for cleanup, okay? Some of the cons, it's not considered eco-friendly, because of the activator. So there is a little bit of formaldehyde in the activator. You gotta be very careful with that, especially when you're printing on kids' clothing, okay? It's not recommended, okay, for kids' clothing. So you do not wanna use discharge on kids' clothing, okay? Anything maybe juniors and above is where you wanna start using discharge. Anything smaller than that, do not recommend it. Strong smell for afterwards. For those of you that printed discharge, you get that fishy smell, really strong smell. The customer gets it. It's like, I don't want it. It smells bad. That has improved, okay? Because now there's a lot of discharge products that are coming with lower VOCs, so you don't get that kind of going, or that smell coming out of the ink as much as it used to before. So it has improved. Ventilation, okay? For those of you that work at home, make sure you have good ventilation if you're working with discharge. Same thing in your shop, okay? Low ceilings, make sure you got good air ventilation. Very, very important. The pot life, okay? Like Tony talked earlier, you have a pot life. So once you mix it, you got 12 to 48 hours, depending if you're putting in that fridge, the beer fridge or not, okay? Don't recommend it to put it side by side with your lunch. Not recommended, okay? Longer than normal flash times, because of the moisture, okay? This is a water-based product, so the more moisture you lay down, the longer it's gonna take to either flash it or cure it, okay? And you're gonna hear me say this over and over again. So this is where mesh plays a big role in the deposit, of these water-based systems, okay? So you just deposit just enough so that you can flash it quicker, cure it better. What a lot of people don't realize, discharge has a 6-month, most discharge products have a 6-month shelf life, unless it's one of the newer systems that don't require any activation, okay? So there is a discharge product out there that, is already pre-activated. So, but most of them are 6 months. So if you do have discharge, make sure you look at your lot numbers. And because if it goes past its pot life or shelf life, it's not gonna work the way it's supposed to, okay? And the ink manufacturers get blamed for everything, when something goes wrong. So get plenty of phone calls about that. Does not work with polyester fabrics, does not work with recycled fabric. Traditional water base, it's still pretty popular, again, because of price. This has been around probably just as long, if not longer, than discharge. So the problem with the traditional water base, it just doesn't have all the new technology to keep it from drying in the screens, okay? And like Tony had mentioned earlier, it's used mainly for printing directly to fabric, light color shirts, just for a soft hand fill. okay? So I threw that in there because, it's sometimes sold like an extender base, okay? So if you see a water-based product that says like extender base, that's probably a traditional water base, okay? But there's not as much of it here in the US, but there's still some people using it. Again, soft hand feel. You're gonna see a lot of repetitive stuff with water base, okay? So this is a newer technology that replaced the traditional water base. It's a water-based acrylic, okay? The water-based acrylics are gonna be the ones that are being marketed as fashion bases, soft hand, higher mesh printing capabilities, wet-on-wet printing capabilities, especially directly to fabric, okay? We're still gonna be having the issue of the base being a little transparent, similar to what you get with discharge and the traditional water base. But the performance of the water-based acrylics are gonna be so much better, okay? So they're not gonna dry in the screen as quickly as a traditional or a discharge, okay? So this is I like this product here, the acrylics, as an entry-level product, especially, if you don't wanna deal with the formaldehyde, the discharge. This is a really good starting point. And these products do come in different opacities, from clear to matte and white. So you could make a decent opaque base from these systems, or these type of systems, okay? It's just blending them together. And before I go on, one thing that, I should throw out there is that as we're going into all these different systems, like I mentioned earlier about resin. So as we're going into these systems, there's more resin being added, or a different type of resin that adds more body, more hand feel to the products, okay? And also the way they function, the way they work. A discharge is designed to go into the fabric. That's why you get a really nice soft hand feel, okay? The acrylics they're gonna go into the fabric, but there'll be a little bit on top still. It's gonna sit a little bit on top of the fabric. So you still get a soft hand, but that's where you get the vibrancy of colors, okay? Because it's sitting a little bit more on top of the fabric. Again, high mesh printing capabilities, excellent open time, Pantone matching systems. These are interesting because, when you start using these mixing systems, it doesn't matter whose it is. We do the best. All the manufacturers do their best to get you as close to the color as possible. But there's so many variables that can make color shift. So there's always gonna have to be some type of an adjustment, okay? Especially when the water base is transparent. So whatever you're printing on, okay, that can shift the color around, okay? Whether it's your white base, or it's a discharge under base, or it's the color of the fabric, okay? Even printing something as simple as white on a red shirt, white on a blue shirt, that can shift the color of the white. So that can also affect sometimes the color that goes on top of the white underbase. Easy mixing, because the viscosities are so low, when you're blending these, it's very easy to mix. And all the manufacturers are making these bases to where it's easy to use pigment and base systems as well. Wet-on-wet printing capabilities. This is predominantly more for direct to fabric, okay? But when you're printing over a white underbase, there is a technique to printing wet on wet, okay? And we're gonna show this tomorrow, but it's very, very important that these techniques be used if you're limited to space and wanna print more wet on wet with water base, okay? And it comes down to temperature of your palettes. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow when we're in the printing process, okay? Easy cleanup, excellent for white and light color fabrics. And then high printing yield. The printing yield depends on the mesh that you're using. So because the viscosity is low, you can print higher mesh counts. You're gonna be able to maybe extend your ink consumption a little bit longer, okay, with these systems. It's still a water-based product, so if you get too comfortable and leave it in the screens, it will dry, okay? The acrylics will take longer to dry before they dry in the screen, but they will eventually dry. So screen management, ink management, very important. Colors are more transparent, longer cure times. What I mean by longer cure times, so with water-based, and for those of you that print it, we have to slow down the bout speed on the dryer. Okay, so with plastisol, you might be between 30 to 45 seconds. Water-based, you're gonna be minute and a half, 2 minutes, in some cases up to 3 minutes. Okay, depending on the drying system that you're using, or the dryer that you're using. So like Tony mentioned earlier, make sure you have a good drying system. There is additives that are gonna help improve the curing or the drying. And those additives will be dependent from manufacturer to manufacturer. Just kind of like the emulsion and the mesh, these ink systems have their own technical data sheets from all the manufacturers. So you definitely wanna pull those technical data sheets, review them, and make sure that you're following all the recommendations on there as well, okay? That information's there for you to use. Very, very good information, very important information. Wash fastness is gonna be better than the discharge, okay? But not as good as the next product, the HSAs. And again, a lot of that has to do with the resin and the binders in there. And it's more expensive than traditional water-based. So, as we're improving these products, the price is gonna be a little bit more expensive. But at the end of the day, you're gonna be able to work more comfortably, be more productive with these products. High solid acrylics, again, new improved formulations, PVC-free. These are very popular for your performance fabrics. So again, Tony mentioned that when we first had all this water-based, it was mainly designed or used for directed fabrics, light color shirts. High solid acrylics have allowed us to be able to now print on dark color fabrics, performance wear, high stretch fabrics, any blends, tri-blends. And the reason this has been very helpful for us as well is because the issue that we normally have with these performance wear is the fibers, okay? Especially with plastisol, when you're printing plastisol on these fabrics that have a lot of fibers, the hand feel is not nice, it's not smooth. And water-based high solid acrylic products have helped us improve that hand feel on these type of fabrics, okay? So this is where it makes sense to look into these high solid acrylics a little bit more as a solution for your customers that have performance wear products. Feels and prints similar to plastisol. They've given me the comment, whenever we print this, they're like, oh, this feels just like my plastisol, But most of the times it's after you reduce your plastisol, you're using all these extenders to bring it down. But at the end of the day, I still feel that water-based does a better job at matting down the fibers, okay? And it feels lighter, a little bit lighter. And you're also gonna have better opacity with high solid acrylics, okay? That's another. So as we're going again down the list here, you see the improvements that are happening, okay? Better wash fastness, better stretchability, better opacity, brighter colors, just better performance overall. So here are some more of the pros here. Good open time in the screens, mixing systems available, cotton synthetic fabrics, excellent printing over white underbase. Again, depending on what mesh you're using, high printing yields, great fiber mat down, excellent wash fastness. The cons, again, these will dry faster than an acrylic because of the high solid content, okay? So these you have to really watch them, take care of them. If possible, print, get the job done, get it down. Don't let it sit in the screen, okay? Because it will dry faster, especially if you're working with higher mesh counts. This is not good for printing wet on wet, but you could print wet on wet, but you're gonna be limited to about 2 to 3 colors. Because of the high resin content, they seem to get a little tacky, a little sticky. So if it doesn't dry properly on the palette, it will wanna have a tendency of picking up that color from you. So that's why I just kind of put that in there, but anything is possible. Once you get more comfortable with the product, then you can do a lot more with it. Water-based polyurethane. Okay, this is something that's becoming more and more popular right now. Companies like Virus, they've really made an impact on wet printing here in the U.S. market, and there's a lot of positive about printing with water-based polyurethane, in that it'll dry really fast on the pallets. Okay, not on the screens, on the pallets. So that really helps with the wet-on-wet printing capabilities. This is a technology that's been around for a few years now here in the U.S., and it's becoming more and more popular, just wet-on-wet printing overall, because of the limited space that we have on our machines. Okay, so all the ink manufacturers do have some type of a wet-on-wet printing solution, but polyurethane is kind of the newest thing that's entered the market here. Okay. It has really good stretchability too. That's another thing that polyurethane has that can benefit. So if you have some pretty high stretch material, water-based polyurethane is very good for that. Just like everything else, there's color matching systems, easy to print, cotton blends, so forth. So you see a lot of similarities here in all the systems, okay? The drawback here on some of the polyurethanes is, again, just like any other water base, if you leave it unattended, it could dry in the screens. Some of our concerns at Matsui with working with polyurethane is just we work with a lot of polyesters, and we're just concerned about dye migration. So it does seem to attract the dye migration or the sublimation out of the fabric a little bit quicker than an acrylic. But that can be resolved by using a good blocker, okay? So just something to throw out there to keep in mind, okay? You want to use a good blocker that's going to help protect the ink that's going on top, okay? Migration blocker, sublimation blocker, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get into the special effects. Again, cure times, very similar to the other systems. Can be slightly more expensive than other systems, and has a really nice semi-gloss finish to it. So another thing you'll find with all these different systems, they can have a different finish, okay? So some might be a little bit more matte, some might be a little bit semi-gloss, some might be really glossy, okay? So it's always getting familiar with the different systems that are available out there and see what you like and don't like, okay? Tony was right in that we have a lot of additives out there, okay? But those additives, can help you in situations where you're trying to create a certain type of solution. So the most important ones would probably be the retarder, to just give you more open time in the screens. But if you use too much, it can work against you. So you got to be very, very careful when you're using these products, okay? You want to start 1%, 2%, or check with the manufacturers and see what they recommend. Hybrid systems, okay? I'm going to keep this very, very generic, very general, because there's a lot of different type of hybrid systems out there. But I did want to just kind of throw it out there so everybody's familiar with it. Manufacturers are creating different types of blends to create a more multi-use. So after we just talked about all the other, solutions that are available, you're like, man, that's a lot of different products, right? So in the US, we like it easy, right? Why can't we just have one ink that works for everything, right? Who wants that? Yeah? So manufacturers are working, hard to try to create that solution, because we know that's what the plastisol industry is. It's more of that. So, there's different blends going on. So you're going to see more and more marketing coming out with different blends, and that's what they are. It's maybe an acrylic with a high solid acrylic blended together, to give you kind of the best of both worlds. So that's where we're headed And that's what I think it's going to help improve, make it easier for you as a printer, okay? Acrylic polyurethane blends, okay? One thing I didn't mention about the polyurethanes, they have a really nice hand feel to them, okay? They're really nice and soft, really smooth. And, you know, sometimes you want the best of both worlds. There's blends of acrylic with polyurethane, but as a manufacturer, we got to make sure they're compatible with each other as well. The resins are compatible. And then there's so with these blends, you know, we're trying to create a multi-purpose solution. That's what we're trying to do, okay? The other side of water-based that a lot of people do not know about is that just like in plastisol, in water-based, we also have special effects, okay? So anything that you have in plastisol that you want to try to find in water-based, it's available, you know? And, you know, you're going to see that tomorrow with one of the other manufacturers here and probably talk about it a little further about it. But again, I just wanted to touch on it real quick. You know, we're going to continue to probably overlap each other, but it's only to make sure that you guys get as much information as possible here. But foil adhesives, foaming or puff, self-cracking inks, silver shimmers, gold shimmers, reflective. So basically anything that you can find in plastisol, you're going to be able to find in water-based. But the important one right here is the underbase blocker, okay? That's something that I have a lot of experience with because I've been working a lot with polyester. And for those of you that are looking for solutions to improve your hand feel on your polyesters, matting down the fibers, creating more stability, more consistency with your prints, an underbase blocker can do all of the above. And they come in black and gray. So because water-based is a solvent, it wants to take the shape of the garment. It wants to take the shape of the fabric. And what the underbase blocker does, it works as kind of like a primer. So like when you're painting your wall, say you got a black wall and you want to turn it a lighter color, what's the first thing we put down? It's a primer, right? So that's what we're doing here with the t-shirts, with the blockers, okay? It's a suggestion, it's a recommendation that we're putting out there to help improve and get to the colors a lot faster, especially dark color fabrics. Hopefully that makes sense, but aside from that, it's the way for us to be able to print on polyester garments as well, okay? So tomorrow's live printing. I just kind of want to go over what we're going to do tomorrow real quick, just so you know what to be prepared for. Basically, we're going to show you a discharge underbase with water base on top. Okay, so we'll print a hybrid, you know, we kind of a blend. And we're going to print that wet on wet over a discharge underbase, over a white acrylic underbase. And then we'll also use a polyester gray blocker to show you how we can use that as a primer as well, okay? We're also gonna print a discharge wet on wet, just to show you how you can print discharge wet on wet and what that looks like. And if we have some extra time, we'll just print a real simple, solid white down, just to show you what a white looks, you know, because a lot of you just print one color white and want a nice bright white, soft hand. And then if we still have some more time, throw in some shimmer, and we have a new product called the Wet Reveal. So basically it goes down clear, and when you wet the shirt, you'll see the image. So like Brett was talking about, you know, we have all these kind of cool special effects stuff. So wanted to just throw something in there to show you guys that as well. Okay? That's all I got. Thank you.
Amazing. All right, does someone have a question for this guy? First guy I saw.
Is it possible to do a simulated process with water-based or one of the products?
Absolutely. And because water-based is transparent, Obviously you want to set up your artwork a little different. But I feel you get a better result with water base because of the transition is a lot smoother, a lot cleaner because of the transparency of water base, if that makes sense. So the color mix is a lot better.
Good question. All right, thanks so much, Jesse. You guys will hear more from Jesse later and get to use his inks tomorrow when we print.